So thank you for coming back to my Purdue page. My name is Valerie, and I'm going to take you through one of my projects that I'm working on for one of my classes right now. We are working on an alien zoo. Pretty much anything that we can think outside of this earth, we're allowed to put into the zoo. So to get started, here's the picture that got me to the model that I have now. I'm not going to take you through the whole design process of how I got here, but in short, I watched a video where two people are facing away from each other, and this idea just came about. With this idea, there are two sides. There is the Cyclops, and there is Smudge. I drew these drawings so that way it could help me model them inside Maya. Also, for clairvoyance, always draw them in T poses. My creature was kind of weird in that sort of aspect, so I didn't get to do that. They were made a little bit differently than you should make them. Please do not advise doing what I did here. Moving on, here's how the model came out. This is in smooth mode. And with this, I did 4 parts to the body. Here is a pixelated image, or zoom up on this image. The parts that were made were the faces, body, and any extensions, which included like teeth, eyes, arms. Everything was made separate. The eyeball was done separate, the mouths, teeth were done separate, and the arms were modeled separate. With the face, I did topology, which is used to help animators create more facial expressions on the face. I recommend looking into it if you haven't heard of it. It's been a lifesaver. Next step is the rigging phase. I wanted to show you guys this picture because rigging is not always so simple to plan out, especially for this creature. This creature was going to do like the squash and stretch principle that I really wanted. At the same time, I also need to plan out how arc movements are going to happen, how to make this creature seem as if they were living, so it needs to be as natural as possible in the environment. It was kind of difficult for me. You'll see that the rigging that I had made actually is very similar, except there's this dot down here where the little hand is. And I did take that out because it was easier to do a squash and stretch with more of a triangle shape than rhombus. Going into my Foley now, I'm showing you the full model that came out along with those pictures. I tried giving as much detail to it as I could, similar to what the image is shown. To move on, here's also the rigging aspect of it. I'm going to highlight it for you so you can get a better look. You can pause if you want to. I'm going to show in all forms here. We'll zoom in here. They're not perfect due to the main joint that holds the body being on like more of one side than the other. But here's the rigging. How I went about this is I went from modeling to rigging. Then you're going to want to go to skeleton and create your joints. I do suggest maybe doing the same thing I did, taking a picture of your model and like playing around with maybe get an idea of where the joints are going to be before putting the joints onto the model. When you do put the joints onto the model, you're going to want to do front, side perspective, because if you don't and you do it in the perspective mode, your joints might end up totally off the grid from where you really want it to be. Additionally, after you create joints, you're going to want to orient them. And I'll show you what I did. I'm not going to show you the whole process of how to go about it. However, I will show you how to get there in case you want to mess with it. You're going to go to Select Hierarchy. You're going to go to Display, transform display, and local rotation axes. Here you get to see every joint's rotation axis and where they are. You want technically like the x-axis to go along with where your joints are going, like in a flow formation. Do take different kinds, but if you go back to your overall joint, go back to select hierarchy, if you go to skeleton and orient joint, this is where you can mess with things and bring it any way you want. However, for a hint, for fingertips, like the singular one, you do just want to check the box. Nothing has to be done with that to fix it. Also, side hint, I'll make this quick. If you do want to turn off the axes, make sure you highlight, select hierarchy. You go back and you do the same thing. You hit display, transform display, local rotation axes. Now, here are NURBS circles, because now I'm going to try messing with the joints, but more so with the joints that I can't particularly reach. So here I have layers. It's best to start labeling everything. After you create your joints, please go in and just start labeling them all, because once you start making your handles, it's going to go so much smoother, so much easier. Additionally, after every circle you place, please go to modify and freeze transformations. You don't have to do no more than that. I'm always extra careful for no reason, and I also like to go to edit, delete by type in history. You don't have to, but it's something extra I do after every one, and I save progress throughout it too, just in case. Make sure to always save multiple files. Quickly, I'm going to show you what to do to position your NURBS right, just like we did with your joints. So you're just going to create a group, Control-G. You can name it the same thing. I'm going to call this offset though, so we know. Then you're going to take this. You're going to click on the joint first. Then you're going to come over here, Control Select what you're wanting here. Then you're going to go above, hit Constrain in Parent. This is what I have for it. You usually will select all, however, with my joints being a little weird, I do Z. As you can tell, it's still kind of weird. So you will have to play around with it. See what's best for you. If I hit all, I get this. So it should work for you. This shouldn't really concise, but if it does happen, it's just something that you have to mess around with. After you have this handled, don't forget you can delete this. There's no need for that. Additionally, your NURBS circle will be safe and sound. It will not ruin any transition that happened. It just messes with the offset part, and no need to worry about that. Once things are set up, you'll just put them in order like you did your joints. Basically make your own hierarchy in your outliner. And you'll go back into your parent constraint if your window is still open. And check the check mark and select and make sure that the translate all button and the rotate all button is checked. Then what you do is you click the handle, click the joint it's signed with, and you hit apply. So now you should be able to rotate it. After I feel that everything is looking right, I can close the outliner, highlight all the joints, and bind to skin. In this scenario, I'm still finishing up on the teeth. I'm parroting joints with objects so that way whenever I go to move the creature, it'll go with it. Last step for this project is the animation. I'm currently on this stage right now. I've taken you through my designing process of creating the character, modeling the character, rigging the character, just getting it set up for animation. So I decided to go ahead and share with you my thoughts of the animation. Here are the big 3 poses that I'm going to have. As you can see, 1, 2, and 3. 1 here is going to be of the creature laying down. 2 here is going to be the creature standing up. And 3 is the creature doing like a turn and walk towards another direction. And I decided to do like midway points. What are the midway points between these? Well, I had to think about how the creature was going to get up. Since it is unique in its own way, I had to think about what would be easiest for that creature. How would they go about it? So the best way I could think is that they would start with one side at a time of lifting each other up. Then, between 2 and 3, you would get the transition of them kind of turning themselves around and at some point going towards a direction, which I have it here to the right. If you noticed, I have notes on the side here that are in blue and orange. The blue is for the 12 principles of animation, and the orange is for showcasing the arcs a little bit more. So I'm going to take you through the 12 principles of animation that I picked out that I thought I could relate to with this project. Here is secondary action. I think throughout the whole process, there's going to be at least 2 points moving, which would be Smudge, one side, and the Cyclops, the other side. They are 2 different beings inside of one body, so there's always going to be another action with the other that is going to be initially connected. Then, if you go down, I have a few notes here that say arcs. I was trying to think about how I could give that naturalness, as I described before, that natural arc to make it more real. Here we would have where they would lift one side up, there's one arc, and the other side is where they would straighten themselves because they're tilted at the moment. So another arc to straighten themselves. Up here, they're going to be in an arc whenever they turn around. And below, whenever they're walking, they're going to have arcs with hand and arm movement. The hands are going to go up and around to push, and so will the movement of the arms that kind of go along with it. I have this here in the middle to kind of showcase the rhythm that they're going to go in. It's almost like in an arc movement. Now to talk about squash and stretch. Again, this is like secondary action. This kind of goes with the creature completely. Squash and stretch, It's going to be the movement of the creature in general. As I explained before, with their accordion worm-like structure, in order for them to be a little bit flexible, that's how they're gonna transport. Below, I have a few extra notes I can showcase. One says staging. For this particular project, we're going to be staging the creature at a zoo. So there's going to be a showcase for each creature specifically. So you could say that each creature specifically is being staged. There's straight ahead, pose to pose. This goes more into the actual work of the animation process, because I have to do a pose to pose, as you could see here. I need 3 big movements and slowly work on the details more. And then timeline. timeline is what we use, or what I use in Maya. It help depicts how fast something may be going, how slow something may be going, and I think it's just a huge part in animating, just like the straight ahead and pose to pose. Whether you're realizing it or not, you're always using those two. Alright guys, that's a wrap. If you have any questions, feel free to ask below and give me feedback on what you think. I could have done better, should have worked on better. So if there's something you noticed, please let me know, and thank you.